Okay, guys, here's page 3 of the Honors Unit 8 review packet. It says find the value of x and y given the following parallelogram. Given that AE is x plus 1, I think I'm just going to use some arrows here. So this is going to be x plus 1. EC is y plus 2. DE is x minus 4. And EB is y minus. Okay, well, we know that the diagonals bisect each other, so these two pieces will be the same length and these two pieces will be the same length, which means that x plus 1 is equal to y plus 2, and x minus 4 is equal to y minus 3. Well, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get x by itself over here, so I'm going to subtract the 1 over, and I'm going to get that x is equal to y plus 1. Now I'm going to say, okay, if x is equal to y plus 1, whenever I see x, I can plug in a value of y plus 1. So therefore, once I've done that, remember this means therefore, I'm going to have y plus 1 minus 4 is equal to y minus 3. So now I have y minus 3 equals y minus 3. And if I add y or 3 to both sides, I end up with y equals y. That's kind of a strange thing to end up with. Don't stress out too much about seeing this on the test, but it's worth noting when y equals y, that means no matter what value of y I pick, my system will be satisfied. So if I were to pick 10, it would work. If I were to pick 100, it would work. So that means all values work. It kind of means all values work. Here's the problem: is depending on the value for y you pick, it'll impact the value for x. So I'm not going to go and keep going through this. So for instance, let me give you an example. So if I were to pick y equals 5, so let's say I pick y equals 5, this is going to get a value of 2, which means this is going to have a value of 2. X would have to be 6. So if y was 5, x would have to be 6. Okay, let's pick another value. Let's say y is 10. So 10 minus 3. If y was 10, this would have to be 11. So, and you'll notice that x always has to be 1 bigger than y, kind of like it says over here. So I'm actually not going to get into this much better. I think in class you might have just changed the values, but go ahead and if you want to just put a star by this one for right now, we can talk about this a little bit more before the test. Okay, on to number 19. It says, in an isosceles trapezoid, the measure of angle P is 105, the measure of angle Q is 75, and the measure of angle R is 75. So let me just start by drawing an isosceles trapezoid. So like I was doing on the page before, let me highlight the type of shape it is just so you can make sure you're thinking about the right rules. So here is my isosceles trapezoid. Based on the way I've drawn it, I'm going to have 275. Let's make these our 275s. And this is going to be 105. If I do it like that, that means this is going to be P, this is going to be Q, this is going to be R, and this is going to be S. Remember, whenever I name it P, Q, R, S, I always have to go around in order. So once I name P, I have to keep going Q, R, S. But we have to be a little bit more careful for this trapezoid to make sure our base angles are congruent. So remember, these are going to be my parallel sides, these are going to be my congruent sides. So just be careful, make sure your picture looks like mine does. Let's think about it. That means that the measure of angle S, which is right, we already have the measure of angle Q. Let's change that to S. Is going to be 105. Okay, well, we also know that PQ, so here's PQ is going to be 2x. We know that QR is going to be 3x plus 2. We know that RS is going to be 16. And we know that SP is going to be 2x plus 1. Well, the only two sides that we know are going to be the same are these two sides here and here. So I can say that 2x is equal to 16. That means that x equals 8. Well, if x equals 8, that means PQ has a length of 16. We already know that SR has a length of 16. If I plug in 8 here, I'm going to get 16 plus 1, that's 17. And if I plug in 8 down here, I'm going to get 24 plus 2, which is 26. Okay. Number 20, quadrilateral ABCD is a square with diagonal DB. Which of the following statements are not true? So AB is congruent to CB. AB CB. Oh, that's true because we know all of these sides have to be the same. So this is true. AD is congruent to CB. Here's AD, here's CB. Yep, that's true. DA is congruent to, or sorry, is perpendicular to AB. This is going to form a 90-degree angle because it's a square. Yep. AD to DB. Nope, that's definitely not guaranteed. So this is the only one that is definitely not true. Okay, 21, solve for the missing measures. Well, let's figure out what kind of shape it is first. You'll notice that I have two sets of consecutive congruent sides. That means we have a kite. Okay, and remember up here we had a square, here we have a kite. Okay, well we know that a kite's diagonals are perpendicular, so I know that this has to be 90 degrees, so the measure of angle 1 is 90 degrees. I know that this has to be 90 as well, which means if I look at these three angles, I know that those three angles there, I'm sorry, let me move this up a bit, have to add up to 180 because they make a square. So if I do 180 minus 90 minus 55, I'll be left with 35 degrees for 3, measure of angle 3. Okay, well remember, if you take a kite, there's going to be a line that you can fold in half on. I know that's the line I can fold in half on because these sides will match up when I fold it over. That will match up when I fold it over. Those two angles will match up, so I know that the measure of angle 2 will also be 35 degrees. If I fold them over, I know that this is going to have to be 62 degrees. And then I know that these three have to add up to 180. So if this is 62 degrees, if I take that away from 180 and then take 90 away, I'm going to be left with 38 degrees left, or sorry, 28 degrees left over. Okay, on to number 22. We have a rhombus. Well, if we have a rhombus, that means that this, and this are all congruent. It also means that these four angles are going to be congruent. It also means that these angles will be congruent. It says the measure of angle J is 82 degrees. Well, that means that the measure of angle G will also have to be 82 degrees. Well, wait a minute. If these are all the same, we could call this X, we could call that X, we could call that X, we could call that X. Well, in order to solve for X, wait, 82 plus X has to add up to 180. So I could say 82 plus X equals 180. That means that 2X, I'm going to subtract this on the side, is going to be 98, which means that X is going to be 49. Well, the measure of angle KHJ, here's KHJ, that's X, so that's going to be 49 degrees. GHJ, what's this whole thing going to be? Well, it's going to be 2X, so that's going to give me 98 degrees. Okay, on to number 23. It says in rectangle PQRS, so here's PQRS, so PQRS with diagonals PR and SQ, such that PR is 4x minus 10, SQ is 7x minus 40. Well, we know that our diagonals are going to be congruent. That's one of our rules for rectangles. And guys, I can't stress enough, if I would take 5 minutes, sit down and write out all of the rules you know for each of the different types of quadrilaterals. That is one of the best ways you can study for this test. So I'm going to subtract 4x on this side. I'm going to add 40 to this side, and I get a value of x equals 10. Well, if I plug it into PR, that's going to be 40 minus 10, that's 30. If I plug it in here, I'm going to get 70 minus 40, that's 30. And that's the best way to know that my value is right. I got the same value for both of my diagonals. Okay, number 24, I have a parallelogram. Okay, now we made a small mistake. We accidentally used the same variable twice. That was not what we meant to do. So what I would do is just say, let's just change this to a y and this to a y. We meant to make the sides and the angles two different problems. That was our fault. So let's start with this and this. So I know that opposite sides have to be congruent. I'm going to subtract 3x onto this side. I'm going to add 25 onto this side, and I get that x equals 30. Well, if I plug that in for QR, I'm going to get 3 times 30 is 90, plus 5 is going to be 95. If I plug in 30 here, I'm going to get 120 minus 25. That will also be 95. Okay, well now I'm going to solve for y. These two angles are next to each other. They're consecutive. That means these two have to be supplementary. So I can say that 2y plus 3 plus 7y minus 12 is equal to 180. That's going to give me 9y minus 9 equals 180. If I do, if I add 9 to this side, and then I'm going to divide by 9, I end up with y equals 21. So if I do 2 times 21, that's 42 plus 3 is 45. So the measure of angle Q is 45, which means this will also be 45. If I plug in 21 here, 7 times 21 minus 12 is 135, which means this will also be 135. Clearly this wasn't drawn to scale, but there's your answers. Okay, I'm going to stop this video and I'm going to start filming the next one.